Hey guys, so with crypto, does following what the giant whales are buying as well as seeing that same asset get lower and lower on exchanges where you know it's going to become a rare asset pretty damn soon, does that intrigue you? Because so, you're probably into Quant. Right, so of course we're doing another little Quant video today. I'll talk a little bit about what the whales are doing. They're quietly stacking up on their Quant. The exchange reserves are getting at multi-year lows. Fusion mainnet, it's right around the corner. We're just not quite sure when. We're expecting it to be Q1 right now. They're testing the bring your own node staking options right now. There's a lot of stuff going in store for 2026 and beyond. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that today. So, any questions, comments, additional thoughts? I love when you guys add your own thoughts and opinions down below. I do my damnedest to respond to as many of them as I can. Well, that's about as good of a segue as I got today. So, if you're here, you probably know Quant right now, it's a mid-cap token. It's in a very unique position right now, right? It powers the Overledger, the blockchain, the best interoperability network, at least it appears. It's what I'm betting on, and it's just kind of going to connect everything, right? So recently, looking at analytics, there are a lot of people who follow the analytics of Quant about what's going on, who's buying it, and where. And we know that the exchange reserves are getting lower and lower. And I don't mean this to sound like FUD, but I've seen a lot of places, specifically on Twitter. I'm at the age that's always going to be Twitter to me, X, where you see people saying that there's 200,000 left on exchange reserves. Well, that doesn't actually appear to be true, but it does. There's not too much in there. But I mean, there's what, 12.88 million tokens out there. Things almost fully diluted at this point. We are going less and less. And what we do see is that whales are buying these in large portions at a time. Every time we get a dip down in there, God, as soon as we see the price token start with a 7, we see a couple large buys of 200,000 plus Quant at a time. It gets massive. And it's anyone who thinks that Quant's not going somewhere, why are single wallets doing that? And they're the same wallets. We'll see 56,000 Quant here, and then 30 minutes later, another 56,000 Quant. People know things. I think we kind of most of us kind of know what's going on, right? But it's just showing it's a matter of time. They know what the price is worth for it, and it still blows my mind sometimes that everyone else isn't quite up to snuff, but that's where it's going to be good for us. So when we're looking at on-chain with the whale data, again, this whale accumulation, large holders now control about 57.8, we'll call it 57, 58% of the circulating supply. That's a lot of it, right? This is why it's not a retail token. We're just going to follow behind with it, and I'm more than fine with it. Of that 57, 58%, about 1% of that has been bought by whales in the last month. Right? That is a crap ton of tokens that are going and moving. Right? That's roughly an extra 130,000 Quant that's been held by whales just in the last month. And let's be honest, they're going to keep buying it. We don't know exactly what these whales are. There's a lot of suspicion for it, but they're pulling it off the open market, which is fabulous. Right? And following smart money is what got me into Quant in the first place. Really, the ISO tokens. That's where I started sliding into with my crypto interest. It's why I'm big into Hbar. It's why, though I don't own XRP, I'm a huge fan of it, and I'll always keep an eye on it. Really, I've used that one a lot more for swing trading. Works great. And the more that these whales get into it, right, there is less active liquidity on the market, which is great because as this lowers down, we're getting closer to that supply shock that we all were expecting, right? With net flows, just after the post-fusion testnet, right? Just the testnet, right? Net inflows to whale wallets jumped over roughly 1,000%, right? What this turned into was there was about an 8 to 12% short-term surge. And this happens routinely, right? Every time there's a big news, okay, not every time, frequently when there's big news, staking announcements coming out. That's going to be another one. I'm betting on it. There's going to be another huge increase of whale buys. Probably right before, actually. They know a little bit of things that we don't. Again, follow the whales. They lead the way. And again, historically, Quant has responded to this several times. Eventually, it's going to stop. Whales aren't going to be continuously buying these large amounts forever. They're going to end up having what they need. And now we know that Quant has been really active and busy with all the protocol developments on the back end like crazy, right? With all of the pilot testing that they're doing, they're getting Fusion Mainnet ready to launch. We're expecting it really soon, and this is again, it's going to enable the large scalable cross-chain interoperability. We're looking at the trusted node program, right? The staking. Honestly, I'm kind of expecting that to lock up another 10 to 20% of the supply, effectively reducing the liquid quant even further. How much is going to happen, we'll find out pretty soon, but that's one of the biggest things that everyone who owns Quant is excited for. I mean, you can see it again on social media, through Reddit and the X. People are waiting for staking. That is expected to be the next big price surge, and we're already testing it right now. So it's just going to lead us in a little bit more. And again, we're waiting for more information about staking, how it's going to go, what the percentage is. But that's going to pull a lot more quant off the market because they're going to have it locked away. Yes, maybe one of those whale wallets, multiple of them, are already set alone for the staking. That's fine. We know that people are going to buy quant when the staking gets announced. Right? It's probably going to be a good time to DCA in for people who are still early into it or one of their last chances to get it at a sub $100 price. Good for us, for when everyone else doesn't. So in the most bullish scenario, short term, right? Continued whale accumulation with the Fusion adoption, it's going to drive quant up. And without any other announcements. So let me make this clear so it doesn't sound like I'm being overly bearish, because I've gotten that before. I want to be a little bit more specific on this one. Is if the only announcement ends up being that Fusion is going to be released, I think that's going to jump our price up to somewhere between 150 and 200 and we'll call it one swing. That might be a small multi-week, multi-month swing, but it's going to fly things up because that's going to be the oh shit moment. Right? We're going to realize everyone else who has kept an eye on quant, but they're like, CBDCs is in years away. It's not that close yet. Oh shit, Fusion gets launched. Right? We're going to have a huge boost for that, and that's what I'm expecting. Right? I'm curious what you guys think. When Fusion Mainnet gets launched, where do you think that's going to go? I'm assuming you think the price is going to move. Now, if they double down with that with any other news, we're going to be looking at further, most likely. Let's say they pair it in the same week or small segment, 2 to 3 weeks, with a CBDC announcement, or they wait a couple of days. This would be a great move. And then state about staking of how it's going to go live on a certain date and what the percentage is. Well, that's going to be another catalyst to compound it. I'm not going to throw out a random guess what that's going to be. But I do think that we're at very limited time left of getting this sub $100 quant. And what's going to start it is the catalyst of the news and the whale accumulation. Again, whales are probably going to buy just before the announcement because those bastards know things before we do. So when we start seeing a good little green candle coming up, at least it's going to be something that's going to make me think that we're going to get a new large announcement. When we see another like $10 swing up, I'll be looking to see, okay, what is about ready to get said. Because again, just through historically, that's what tends to happen. And then it's only going to help the declining exchange even more, waiting for that supply shock. I'm not willing to say it's going to happen in 2026, but I'm also not going to say it's not. So, to play the other end of things real quick, so we're not just hyping up everything with a bunch of hopium, though I do have so much effing conviction in what the next 2 years is going to be for Quant. There's always that chance of a mainnet delay. This was we'll call it an argument I had with somebody on X. At this point, if they're calling it Q1, I highly doubt that they're going to have a delay, but would that slow things down? There'd probably be a small sell-off, which, fine. That's probably going to be a good time to accumulate more quant. Because as much as I want things to happen right now, I'm also okay with a little bit more time, especially if it comes a little bit of a price pullback, but I'm not really betting on that, to be honest. And that's really the only somewhat realistic negative I see coming up in the near future, other than maybe flatline. If you see that as a negative, then okay, that's possible as well. So the whales are swimming out to play. We know we're having some major catalysts coming up. And I guess the big question is, do you think that staking is going to happen officially before? And when I say staking happen, I mean like the announcement of information about staking, because they're keeping that quiet from us on purpose, right? So do you think they're going to announce the details of staking before we get the announcement of Fusion Mainnet launch or not? Which one do you think is going to happen first, and do you think they're going to happen kind of together? And where do you think the price is going to go from there, realistically? Right? Not 3 years down the road, though I'm still going to be here for it when that does. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Thank you, as always, for being here. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and just conversing with me and each other down the bottom. And I'll see you guys again soon. Peace.